In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
Ritz Furniture specializes in quality furniture for affordable prices. Our extensive inventory highlights top brands and provides everything you could ever want. You can count on us for kitchen, dining, bedroom, and living room furniture, no matter what the style is you have in mind. Stop in with your family and look at our amazing selection to find the perfect fit for your home. Contact us today to see how we can make a difference in your home.
Hello and welcome into Inside the Smoky Mountain Conference presented by Team FYN Sports. Jake West joined by Brandon Stevens. As always, we are entering into Week 3 Sweet 16 territory of the NCHSAA 1A state playoffs. Realignment coming, but for now, we got the same old teams we're used to in 1A. And we are narrowing down the field as we got 16 left. We'll be in the Elite 8 this time next week.
Yeah, and this is the scary time of the year, because now you've kind of gotten through, and I hate to say it this way, but it's pretty much a good part of the truth. Round 1, you've got a lot of teams that are a little weaker, and you're wondering how they got into the state playoff, and they're eliminated. So from here on out, it's as my grandpa would say, like, the cull of the pick has been weeded out. Now you're getting more of the cream of the crop, so to speak, and so it gets tougher. And every week it's this is one of my favorite times of the state playoffs. Plus, when you're practicing and you're engaged in football, and it's still Thanksgiving, and you're holding up the basketball team, that's another sign you've had a good season. So
sure.
Congratulations to the teams who are advanced to this point in the season, and some good seasons to our other Smoky Mountain Conference teams. I know that there was a word kind of just circulating amongst some of the players that saying, I wonder who made all conference. Because they won't announce that until the last team is out. Well, we're in the Smoky Mountain Conference, so it's going to narrow it down after Friday to just one team left.
Yep.
Either Murphy or Robbinsville, and so you're getting closer and closer to the to knowing some things like that. Plus, it's just Thanksgiving time, and it's a good time of the year to be playing some football.
Agreed. That's what every coach always says. You want to be playing on Thanksgiving. You talked about how much tougher things are getting, and we'll take a look at the bracket here in a minute. But we've got the highest seed still left on the West is Robbinsville, and with an 11 seed. The highest seed still left in the East, I believe, is Gates County, and they are a 12 seed. So had a few upsets in the earlier rounds, but mostly, like you said, 64 teams making it is a little bit ridiculous when you've only got 65 teams in all of 1A. So it's everybody's got to get their gate money, and NCHSAA
Right.
has to get their cut. But nonetheless, let's look at what we've got coming up this week, what we saw last week. Let me pull up the bracket here. We'll just skip around over here on the East. Tarboro 55 to they had a bye, 55-6. They play Warren County. Warren County 56-8 first round, 42-0 against Perquimans. Gates County pulls off the upset against Northside Pinetown Panthers, 28-13. They play Pender. Pender beat Rosewood.
Mm-hmm.
Wilson Prep, number 3 seed. They had a first-round bye. They beat Kip Pride handily. Then you've got Northmore Mustangs beat Birdie 46-22. They'll play Wilson Prep. That could be an interesting game in the third round. Pamlico and Lakewood. Lakewood takes care of that one easy. And then North Duplin, the number 2 overall seed, who everyone thinks is going to, be playing Tarboro to come out of that east side, will be advancing into the third round on Black Friday. But back in the first. No, go ahead.
I asked this rhetorically, but and I think you asked me this last week. Was that are there any surprises? One in the results that you saw, is like I was predicting maybe like that. There was 1 or 2 down here, like North or a Birdie, the Birdie game, Northmore. Told you that might be an interesting football game, but I think these were all like in the East. Yeah. And I don't have any doubt probably on this side, you'll see Tarboro, Pender County. I don't know, the Wilson Prep and Northmore, that might be an interesting football game, just simply because they're a little closer up, seated, paired up. But North Duplin will probably go on a past Lakewood. So I think the East, it's almost like, to me, it feels like it's just cookie cutter. You're just leaning toward Tarboro to make it in, and it seems like the gaps are a little bit wider in the competition.
Yeah, I agree. But switching gears, coming over to the West, Mount Airy 35-14 over Mountain Island Charter. A little bit closer than I thought, but still taking care of business. 37-19 Starmount over South Stanley, and we've got a Mount Airy Starmount rematch. This game happened in the regular season, and I believe it was a 2 or 3 point football game. It was at Starmount though, and this time it will be at Mount Airy. But the team that's played this Mount Airy team the closest has been Starmount. It was 17-14. Mount Airy took the win. So this is shaping up to be, this is one of those Sweet 16 rematches that we wanted to see, just like we wanted to see Robbinsville and Murphy.
Well, yeah, I mean this and the Murphy Robbinsville football game. These are the two games that you want to go back and watch out. It's 17-14 in that Starmount game, and I was looking to see back on the performance of how they rolled through this, and this one was big passing game, especially for Starmount. That's part of the strength of their.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, Starmount actually had negative rushing yards.
Yeah, it was like -1, or it was just right there. They were right at sea level, but I had 17 carries for a negative yardage. And so anyhow, the receiving, that's where it made it up, and that was a close football game. A little balanced attack with Mount Airy, but this was I'm sure this one everybody's going to be coming out to watch this one between the Rams and the Granite Bears. This might be like, I guess we have to put it down as a game of the week. Yeah, this one might be like the big game of the week in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. We'll just see how much different it is for Starmount playing on the road, and Mount Airy, if there's been a chink in their armor, it's been the 17-14 game they played against Starmount. Everyone says, that's what showed that they were human, that they were beatable on this little run that they've been on. But, I'm sure that they're wanting to silence that and put up some big numbers on Friday night. But in this first quadrant, no surprises at all, Brandon. We saw Starmount as a 9 seed. They went to South Stanley, but everybody saw that quote-unquote upset 9-8 coming. So no surprises there. Corbian trounces Mitchell 42-6, and Eastern Randolph blanks Cherokee to set up Corbian at Eastern Randolph in round 3.
What do you? I'm a little get some mixed feelings about Corvian. I mean, here Eastern Randolph. I mean, the easy thing to say is because Eastern Randolph's a really, really good football team. Bounce attack. It's Corvian to me is through its season, and maybe it was just some growing pains, or they were getting used to each other. They're both undefeated, 12-0, and glancing back. They play teams like Christ the King, which very close, but then come away and like just blow away a few other teams. Like for instance, Mountain Island Charter, which is a little bit, in my opinion, a little bit better than Christ the King, but have their way with Winston-Salem Prep. But then so it's according like a little bit because they either play really tough against some good teams, or they don't play very well against some not so good teams. I'll just lay it out there. This one, I think, probably because it's what being played at Eastern Randolph. Give Eastern Randolph just this is another good football game. There's probably not a bad football game that you're going to see in this. East Wilkes, Mountain Heritage, Murphy, Robbinsville, Corvian Community Football. But this one, I have a feeling probably Eastern Randolph is going to take. But Corvian, it just depends to me what team shows up. It could be a good football game.
Yeah, I think Corvian's going to win this game. I think we're going to see Eastern Randolph's run come to an end. We're going to see Corvian and probably Mount Airy face off in the Elite Eight for a chance to go to a Western Regional championship game. I just think, Eastern Randolph, how many times have we seen them be undefeated and just look like absolute powerhouses rolling and not be able to ever get the job done? We saw it a couple years ago when were they undefeated when Murphy went up there?
I think so.
They were undefeated. Murphy went up there. I think in this same round, Sweet 16, Eastern Randolph was undefeated. Murphy went up there, and I don't even know what the final score was, 52-21 or something. Murphy put up a lot of points. So I don't know. I don't know much about this Corvian community team. I know they've got a lot of athletes. They draw athletes they draw from an area with a lot of athletes out there where they're located. So this should be an interesting football game. We'll see what both these teams are made of. If Eastern Randolph can finally get over the hump, and whoever wins this ball game is going to have it doesn't get any easier. That's the way the playoffs work, but it's going to have a tough matchup against the winner of that Mount Airy and Starmount game. But I do think Corvian Community can win this football game.
All right. So it's kind of like, you and I were disagreeing with Robbinsville, Bessemer City, and I'm willing to own up because I thought that Bessemer City might have a bit different, that might be a different football team, but prove me wrong. I'll take on this one. I'm gonna take Eastern Randolph just this one last time, but this might be the last home football game Eastern Randolph sees.
Moving down, let's go to the bottom before we come back to our Smoky Mountain Conference matchup. Mountain Heritage, 57 points in the first round, 51 points in the second round, and they may put up 50 points again in the third round. They've got East Wilkes, who pulled off the upset over North Rowan, 33-30. North Rowan squeaks by Cherryville in the first round, and then 3-point victory over or a 3-point loss to East Wilkes. So East Wilkes, 49-28 win over Albemarle in round one, 3-point win in round two, traveling to Mountain Heritage. Mountain Heritage played on Saturday against Hayesville, 51-7 victory over the Yellow Jackets. This could be, you said they're all going to be good games, and I'm not saying this won't be a good game, but if there was going to be a blowout, I'd say it'd be right here in this quadrant of the bracket.
Well, I'll say this. I watched that Hayesville Mountain Heritage game. Let's put it this way. There were two really good football players in the offensive backfield for Mountain Heritage. Caleb Roy is the running back, but then Brandon Quinn is your do-it-all utility player. if he wasn't skilled to throw the pass or anything like that, I definitely have Brandon Quinn running football. But in this one, there was something that I couldn't put my finger on, but it just kind of felt like this was going through the motions, or I didn't see the full bandwidth or breadth of what Mountain Heritage can do, or at least what they've been trying to do, or what they have been in the season. And I don't know. This was, the football game didn't exactly just like run out like a Roman candle for Mountain Heritage, and just you have a rolling clock, or a 40-0 football game at the halftime. I think Hayesville did a pretty good job working to try to contain everything. They had some Robertson Graves, just give them some props and kudos to how they ran the football. Problem was just like some things that Hayesville's had. They were get to a certain point, be in good position, and then offside, holding, fumble, something came up and just derailed the Yellow Jackets. Of course, again, there are a couple things I thought. It's unusual to be playing on a Saturday. I thought this game would have been played Saturday in the daylight around lunchtime, but instead they chose to play it on Saturday evening. A couple things going on, but anyhow, the point is, I don't think that if Mountain Heritage approaches the game the way they did with Hayesville, East Wilkes could take this one. East Wilkes, not a bad football. Anytime you see a Wilkes County, you see any kind of Wilkes name in their high school name, they produce good football players, and I think they've got. Let's see, one of their Blackburn, I think is his name. He's got like there's nothing that's like monumental with this team. It seems like they spread the love around, and some of the numbers look a little pedestrian on paper, but this is still a good football team, and it depends on how well they can come in and contain Brandon Quinn and Caleb Roy, and which to me a few times Hayesville got the upper hand on Mountain Heritage, so it can be done.
All right, let's go to our game of the week, our lone Smoky Mountain Conference game. Two teams still left in the playoffs. Murphy 62-6 over Highland Tech, 21-11 over Christ the King. Robbinsville 20-7 over Thomasville, and then 19-0 last week over Bessemer City. Let's start with Robbinsville versus Bessemer City, 19-0 game. What'd you see coming out of that, Brent?
We'll have to this is the one that is less scouted, because part of me looks at it and says, well, this is we know kind of what's coming. We know how Robbinsville runs, but then apply the laws of physics and you reverse everything, because that's what's going to show up. If they've been successful with the run game, they're going to throw the pass. That's just kind of the mindset, because that's the way these teams have had to work. What we do. So really, this one is to me kind of surprising. I thought in going back and checking this one out on Huddle, there was a fluidity that I was looking for in both these teams, and I didn't quite see it. I thought this could have probably been either way. Or when you get in the mindset this was Robbinsville winning, there were some other opportunities to roll in there and put a few more points on the board. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's no stats posted for either team, so you can't really go back in and see how, things played out on paper. But you can see, just looking at the way Robbinsville's defense has played, that that unit has really stepped it up. 7 points allowed in the playoffs. They shut out Bessemer City last week. You go back to, the game against TC Robertson. Throw that out. Don't count that one. But you go back to, they give up 14 points to Murphy. 7 points to Andrews, 6 points to Hayesville, no points to Swain County, 7 points to Thomasville, and then no points to Bessemer City. I mean, that's a defense that is absolutely rolling right now. And we'll talk about it in a second when we talk about the Murphy Christ the King game. But that's a defense that's rolling, that is fixing to play against a Murphy offense that has not been able to find the end zone as efficiently as they would like. So, Robbinsville had the kids or the they had the athletes that are not on the team anymore, but they seem to have kind of plugged and played a couple guys here and there to stumble along and get into this third round game. I mean, nobody expected an 11 seed to be here, but they got a good draw. They end up rattling off 2 victories, 20-7. Dogfight victories. We talked about their defense. I think the reason they've been winning these football games is because of number 6, Bryce Adams. We saw him play against Swain. Threw 2 of the best passes I've seen all year against Swain to Ledbetter down the sideline. I think he had 3 touchdowns against Bessemer City. He's playing well, and that team kind of moves the way he moves. He's the quarterback of the offense. He's the quarterback of the defense from the linebacker position. So if he's having a good game, if his confidence is up, if he's rolling, then that's kind of how Robbinsville goes. On the flip side of that, Murphy gets up early on Christ the King. Looks like this game's going to be over by halftime, and then that wheels fall off of the wagon there in the fourth quarter.
I think one of the big ones there is that Murphy got in its own way.
Yeah.
Really, the penalties, and there weren't so many miscued plays. A couple times, maybe Brady Grant rocks back to pass and ends up having to run the ball or something like that. Or there's just the play, didn't result in as many yards as they wanted to. But I think in most cases it was penalties, and really getting into more of the, I think like the second half, we saw some defensive penalties that really cost some opportunities too. In fact, 109, 110 yards of penalties off like a dozen flags thrown in that case. So with that, you're shooting yourself in the foot, especially against a team that you should have a rolling clock situation going down into the second half.
Yeah, I think I said this is the first time these two teams played. Moving on to Murphy's matchup versus Robbinsville here in round 3. It's going to come down to quarterback play. Does 6 in black and white play better than 10 in black and gold? Or does 10 play better than 6? I think it just boils down to quarterback play. We know what these teams are. They like to run the football, but when you do put the ball in the air, how efficient with it can you be? I think that Grant's played better for Murphy down the stretch. He's made some good decisions, limited the turnovers. I think he's got to be more decisive in his decision-making, get the ball out quicker. Those sacks that were taken last week, they can't happen in this game. And, talking about quarterbacks, 3 touchdowns, I think 2 on the ground last week for Bryce Adams. What has Murphy's defense struggled with? That's containing a running quarterback. And if they've got Robbinsville is allowing Adams to run the football more, then that could, create some problems for Murphy. But if, Grant has some time, I loved his connection with Kenyon Nichols this year. Kenyon from the tight end position, he can block you, put you in the dirt. Also, if he gets open as a receiver, seems to be one of Grant's favorite targets. Also, nobody can cover Ryan Payne, it seems, number 3. When Brady needs an escape valve, he's always there. So I think, things look good for the black and gold if we get quick decision-making from the quarterback and there's no sacks. It's just, throw it away. throw it into the dirt, throw it at a receiver's feet, live to see another day, always move forward. But I do think that, Grant's played well. Both quarterbacks have really stepped it up, and that's the reason both of these teams are where they are.
Yeah, there's talking about the evolution of quarterbacks. There was some, I think, wasn't necessarily quite all onto the quarterback. There were some issues probably coming in, at least on the I thought probably on the Murphy side, just getting unified. You win a really good game at West Henderson. You start winning but that West Henderson game was it had its issues. It had some turnovers and there was some sloppy play. You start doing better against Smoky Mountain. And I think one thing with Grant, you eliminate the turnovers, like either a fumble or an interception. Although later in the season, you've got a bit of a shakeup going on with Robbinsville in that last game. You're glide pathing into the regular season with Swain County, and you got some new crew members that are, or you're moving some people around for that. That Swain game was not the prettiest, but looking back through this, I think he's orchestrated some pretty good football all the way around. But no, I think that right now you're beginning to see really the rough edges more from both of these teams. Come and be real smoothed out. They better be, because the next couple of games are going to be critical if you survive the Friday night game. And yeah, I think that there are some areas where you're going to have to in this football game. The number one thing, you go back to it, and it's going to be a smash mouth, really fierce in the trenches. I'd hate to be there. This is going to be a hard-hitting football game. You're not always going to be able to run to the corners, make that pass. You're going to have to run to the B gaps a few times in this one. It's going to be crucial. Remember for Murphy Robbinsville football game played up at Big Oaks. A couple of people get hurt in that football game. Ask Jonah Hedden, ask Adam Cook. They're out. And that really that was the game that topped it off. This is a hard-hitting football game, and that's why a lot of people are going to be coming to this, or I would imagine they'll be coming to this football game. This one, it's all bets are on hold, I think, because with Robbinsville, they lost a couple of players a few weeks ago, but it's next man up. Isaac Collins, Quinn Jumper, been doing work. And like you say, that now that, again, going out of that regular season, I didn't see it wasn't the most fluid Bryce Adams football game. He laid out a couple of times in the backfield. But again, that's going to be a hard-hitting football game against Swain County. A little different dynamic when you're playing Thomasville, when you're playing Bessemer City, but it's going to come back when you play Murphy. Those guys, the Landon Lapes, the Brody Ortons, the Charlie Graves, they're coming at you. On the other hand, Titan Teestesky, from Teestesky to Teestesky, because I think Isaac Teestesky is now on the line for Robbinsville. Some big guys up front. This is a not miss football game. And this one, I don't, take that number 3 and shave that number 11 off. This is just good old football right here.
What are you? What's your prediction heading into our final, Smoky Mountain Conference game here?
One, we've been dancing around it, looking at this. This is going to be up to some defense and making sure that you show up on Friday night, because again, it doesn't really matter where you're placing the ball. I mean, yeah, it's going to matter. You're trying to run to the outside, you're trying to do your jet sweeps or your dives and your traps and your passes. Coming right down to it, who can execute and do that well. Murphy may have an upper hand in the sense that they've been doing that. Maybe not in the last football game. That was just laid on the line. That was not a pretty football game for the Murphy Bulldogs. That could have been played better. And I think that if done well, this one could be like a 24-17 Murphy football game. What's well, I want to hear your prediction, but
I don't know if that many points get scored. I think it's going to be, first person to score could win this football game. I think we could see another 14-7, 14-3 ball game, something like that. Once again, who gets beat through the air? Who gets beat on that long pass, or who jumps in front of that pass and picks it off like Brazil did and runs it into the end zone and ends the ball game. These running backs, a good stable of running backs on both sides, from the young kids to the older kids that have been carrying the ball all year. Always tough to hold on to the football when it's cold. If who can hold on to the ball running, what quarterback, when they decide to tuck it and run and they take a big hit, can they hold on to the ball? All those things are things that need to be talked about. But I think, the way that Murphy ended their last game could not have been worse. So you're going to find out quickly whether that's still in their head or whether they've, rinsed themselves of that and they're ready to play Murphy football again. Because Robbinsville, like I said, their defense is rolling. They've played great ball coming down the stretch. Coaching staff's done a good job. But I still just think, playing this game on the hill, playing this game at Murphy, the way they've been playing, if they can get some things right, I don't see any reason why Murphy shouldn't win this football game, especially with the way some of their key players have been playing.
But then on the other hand, it's a weird thing, because in the last few years, the home football games have been sliding toward toward the Ville. I mean, and it's not been by much. Murphy mounts this nice comeback. What is it, a couple of years ago, and you're sliding toward, or no, it was last year. I was sliding toward the end zone and interception.
Yeah,
with seconds to go, and then back up a few more years before that, and it's this 100-yard field goal that Klein makes, and Robbinsville wins football game. The last little bit is as far as all the superstitious, and I was thinking about this in your head, like all the little superstitious things that go into sports. You could almost write a book about things, people who wear the same clothes or eat the same food beforehand, or say the same prayer, whatever, carry charms and whatnot. This is kind of like one of those superstitious black cat walking under a ladder type thing. Is playing this thing played late, but then also prior to that, Murphy's had its good games against Robbinsville down there in Bob Hendricks Stadium. I think if you go and pay the was it $7 or $8 for admission, you're going to get your money's worth on this football game. And you're probably right. Maybe not so much as many points being scored. The other thing I think of, what we have like a 70-80% chance of rain for Thanksgiving. So that should make David Gentry Field really nice and mushy to get around. It'll be a little bit, won't be as bone chilling cold as it was last week, but that might factor into it. But might be a bit tougher, get some traction going up and down the field. I don't know. It's not like we're in the NFL and they're going to change out and get longer or shorter cleats to do some things like that. I think this one, you're right, defense coming up to it, and Murphy just within the last little while haven't allowed too many points to Cherokee, Highland Tech, Christ the King, although in the Cherokee and the Christ the King game, that score came very late. They actually held Christ the King to a field goal going way down. But the other option there in that football game was, get your points scored. Big one there. I would counterpoint with Murphy defense. actually being pretty stingy itself. I've been impressed with Landon Lape, working in the trenches, from him to just hell, even like some newer faces coming into the backfield. I think for Aiden Williams, Grayson Hall has been in there, and on and on I can go. And I have to say his name on TV or you get upset. Chandler Nerns, if I don't mention him at the cornerback. But anyhow, long story short, I think this is, and that's probably one of the edges that I see is that you've got a really good defense in Murphy as well, and that might be just the added touch more. But is Bryce Adams going to open up and throw a few passes here, or Isaac or Quinn going to make the runs? But I think defense is the key here, and I still will say that probably. No, I'll stick with the score that I gave, because I think sometimes it might get out of it. Some things might open up for folks, and it's anything can happen here. But I think that it's still a Murphy by touchdown and a half, so to speak.
Well, if you don't want to make it out to David Gentry Field, if you can't, if you're traveling for Thanksgiving, we'll have the game live on fyntv.com for free. Barring any setbacks from the NCHSAA, still haven't heard about their approval process as of we record this on Wednesday, but we'll let you know for sure on our Facebook page. But if you can't make it, if you're traveling, grandmas and grandpas, too cold for you, we will have it for free on FYN TV. So it's always fun when Smoky Mountain Conference teams clash in the playoffs, especially deep into the playoffs. This isn't a Western Regional Championship game or anything like that, but it's still, Robbinsville's Cinderella story. Murphy, nobody expected them to win the conference and be the number 3 seed when the season started. So it's just, two good football teams meeting up. We can talk about it all we want, but we have no idea what's going to happen. We said it was going to be, a 35-28 football game last time these two played, and it was 14-7.
Right.
Now we're saying it's going to be, 7-0. I'm sure it'll be 53-48. So, but it's always fun. Anything else you want to say, Brandon? I know we want to say our thoughts and prayers go out to the voice of the Dogs, J.R. Carroll. Keep him in your prayers as he's going through some medical things. Anything you want to add, Brandon?
No, just it'll be. I'm sure probably for the Robbinsville fans, they'll say, "Okay, well, and this is just making light. We're not making light of JR's situation, but again, love him to death. He's he's a good friend, been a long time friend of mine. But prayers, thoughts, everything to help him recover and get through his medical issue. Be a little bit of a loss though to not hear him on Friday night, and
Sure.
And as Boy Steeds would say, that 1st and 10 Bulldogs doesn't necessarily bring down my boys. It boosts them up. Well, again, just to sometimes those PA announcers like Noah Crow up at Robbinsville, or some of the others that you like to hear. But again, best wishes to JR. And one thing I forgot last week, and this might be a little bit later, but you've seen some of the postings and some of the. But I wanted to wish very best and say congratulations to Matt Cook, the golfer. Made it into Western Carolina University's Athletic Hall of Fame. Just I was going to mention that last week. Just time ran out and slipped my mind. But congratulations to him, and just this time of the season. Have a good. Hope you had a good Thanksgiving. Going to have a safe weekend and do all the shopping and everything else that you do on Black Friday. Enjoy some football, whether it's high school, college, or pro this weekend. But be safe and have a good time.
All right, thanks, Brandon. Tune in fyntv.com. We will have the Murphy versus Robbinsville game live for free. Thank you guys for tuning in. Same time.